rain with a chilly breeze here, so certainly not ideal conditions to be doing this kind of recovery work.
And Aaron, are you seeing any wind at all out there at this time, or even earlier?
It's been a little breezy. I'm not sure it would be enough to necessarily keep a helicopter grounded. Certainly this one was in the air, taken off from the Wall Street heliport right around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, came down about 20 minutes later on the New Jersey side of the Hudson River. So it wasn't a very long flight, but the wind certainly picked up a little bit in the last hour or so.
And John, I'm curious, with these helicopters, often with planes, we're all a lot more familiar with planes not flying because of bad weather, but is there weather that helicopters don't fly in?
Oh, yes, absolutely. High winds, really high winds would be one consideration. Visual conditions, of course, have to be right. You can fly certain helicopters on instruments, but you have to have them properly equipped. This would not be one of those, and so they would be flying only in visual conditions. And, of course, if you had something like a thunderstorm moving through, you would not want to be in the air in a helicopter.
And we saw that this helicopter is 21 years old. Just walk people through, is that old for a helicopter?
Not really. That's middle age, depending on how well she's maintained. This helicopter was obviously a workhorse. It had flights before today, and that's the way these normally are, and they usually are meticulously maintained, because you've got to maintain a helicopter to a higher level, actually, of scrutiny than you do a fixed-wing airplane, simply because of all the moving parts.
And walk people through what that looks like. What are those that happen for a helicopter before it even takes off on any given day?
Well, first of all, you've got to be in compliance with the normal inspections for that type of helicopter, and that has to be done on a regular, continuous basis. And those inspections are constantly looking for everything from cracks to missing bolts in any part of the bird or anything, for frayed cables. It's a meticulous thing, and getting ready to fly, you've got to do a ground check before you take it up.
Aaron Katersky, back out to you. As they have now determined that all 6 people on board this helicopter have died, what are investigators now focused on next?
Well, the primary concern, and this will be for the NTSB, is what happened to the helicopter, and that investigation will get going almost immediately. I've seen this, what appears to be a salvage barge with a crane on it, getting into position perhaps to help secure and eventually lift the wreckage. That will be one part of the investigation. There's going to have to be some consular work from the government of Spain to notify those who have been killed. This family, 3 kids, 2 adults from Spain who are visiting New York, to notify family and make arrangements for transport and all of that. But I think we'll hear shortly from the mayor of New York, the police commissioner, the fire commissioner, about the quick response time. As soon as word came that there was a helicopter in the Hudson, they were on it immediately, boats in the water, divers in the water. And they've done this before. In 2018, there was a crash of a tourist helicopter that killed a number of tourists. I think they were from Italy, if memory serves. But back then, Eva, there were calls to regulate the amount of traffic flying above the Hudson River at any given time. Not sure that ever really went anywhere. There are plenty of helicopters. We see them all the time here. But sadly, the police and the fire departments here have had some practice.
And John, Aaron mentioned that barge, that salvage barge that we can see out there in the water. As they pull the wreckage of that helicopter out, what are they going to be looking for? What are they going to be looking at as they try to figure out what happened here?
Well, right now, this is in a recovery mode now that the people have been accounted for, unfortunately dead. Now it becomes getting the wreckage, every piece of wreckage possible, off in a safe place, getting it out of the water. That's probably going to take divers because some things I'm sure have sunk to the bottom. The helicopter itself is upside down and still floating. They should be able to latch onto that, hold it in position until they can get a crane. But right now it's getting as much detailed much wreckage, as I say, as possible for the NTSB to go over. Because it can be something as small as just one screw or one bolt that leads to the explanation, and they want to get everything they can.
John Nance, Aaron Kotursky, thank you both so much for your reporting. Coming up, U.S. stocks closed sharply lower today amid Wall Street whiplash over President Trump's tariff policy reversal. More details straight ahead.
You have stage 4 metastatic breast cancer.
This is not how I planned on leaving the military.
You go walk into your doctor's office because it is their job to do everything that they can to save your life.
This life that I'm building, I want it with you.
We gotta go! There's only a lot of things pulling your focus. You have to choose.
I need to claim my legacy as a firefighter.
Fire Country, now streaming on Paramount Plus and Fridays on CBS.
You two know each other?
Yeah, Miss Green taught my art class while I was locked up.
Little cat.
Miss Green ain't respond to any of my...
25 years.
I am here.
I am here. At Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, what we learn from caring for our patients drives the momentum of discovery in our labs, which makes our patient treatment even better.
I'm here because of Dana-Farber.
What we do here changes lives everywhere.
Trump's been busy these last few days. Mass deportations, tariffs, killing DEI.
Good work, sir.
Making America great again! The Daily Show, new weeknights at 11 on Comedy Central. And next day on Paramount Plus.
Survivor has been calling me for a long time. I just wasn't listening. Go! It's Survivor 48.
Survivor, now streaming on Paramount Plus. New episodes CBS Wednesday. News every weeknight.
Welcome back. President Trump's tariffs, you've heard a little bit about them, right? Well, they could have an impact on electric vehicles, production, and sales. And the Transportation Association critical of the president's so-called trade war, arguing it creates economic uncertainty in the EV industry. I want to bring in its director, Albert Gore. It's good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Good to see you. Thanks,
So, last...
Jesus! It was an unusual service. Pastor Mike McClure Jr. could only say one thing for more than 9 minutes. Recently, I saw a video where clearly you're touched by the Holy Spirit on stage during a sermon.
Yeah, that might be the first, in essence, outer-body experience I had. And before I knew it, it became a thing.
A thing, meaning it went viral among his millions of social media followers.
Did y'all see Pastor Mike Jr.'s service yesterday?
The moment memorialized by the pastor in a song he turned around and just danced.
All we need is Jesus, yeah. Just Jesus.
A prime example of how the multifaceted, multi-platform preacher gets the word out.
If Paul was here, would he write a letter or would he post it? I'm not going to write a letter. I'm gonna post every step of what I'm doing. And today, man, they told me this morning, it's
Saying about prices when it comes to those tariffs. Junior Legal Counsel.
America's favorite new show is Matlock.
People assume I'm a harmless old lady and nobody sees me coming.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Judge.
I lost a daughter and someone at this law firm covered up the truth. So I'm gonna get justice. This place is a viper's nest. Viper's nest is the understatement of the year.
Matlock, now streaming on Paramount Plus and Thursdays on CBS.
The president has just announced that he is dropping out.
I was completely shocked. This is a hate rally. This fight is for you.
Be a part of the phenomenon.
I've been reading about you, Miss Tassioni.
That has everyone talking.
He got killed in June.
I need you on a case.
I'm all in.
Elsbeth, now streaming on Paramount Plus and Thursdays on CBS. At CBS Sports Golazo Network, we're bringing you the game. Madness of Messi alive! Breaking down the game. This is unlike anything else in the world and changing the game.
Get it all for nil.
That means free.
Whoa. And all day long.
24/7.
When you need your sports news all the time,
We've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
I cannot believe this is real life.
My logical brain just shut down.
We're going in for first.
Don't you give up.
Is everybody ready to race?
On the amazing race.
This season, there are more surprises than ever before.
You're amazing, Alyssa.
Okay, this side.
Let's go, babe.
The Amazing Race, now streaming on Paramount Plus. New episodes CBS Wednesday.
That's it. Our reality has been changed.
We only have one shot.
That's all we need.
And
A heroic rescue in Virginia. A man thought that he saw a child alone on these railroad tracks as he was leaving work. After calling out from his car and getting no response, he knew he had to act fast. That's when he rushed out of his car and pulled that child away from the tracks minutes before a train came. As officers arrived, so did the child's family, who were frantically searching for them. Police have now referred that case to Child Protective Services for an investigation. Tonight, you can expect some fireworks in two suburbs that have controversial topics likely to come up.
So Dan, I know everything. We're just discussing possibilities at this point, and we're still working. We do not have a confirmed cause of this crash here, but you raise a significant question. If what you are seeing and being told comes up to be confirmed, what in the world would cause such a catastrophic meltdown of the primary systems of a helicopter to force it to crash into a river in this manner? What would, if it's not a bird strike, what could it be?
See, that's the part I cannot speculate on, because I have a hard time imagining. Obviously, I don't want to think about it. I can't imagine. I'm trying to think back to the various incidents we've seen over the years. I can't say I've ever seen an incident where such a major component of the helicopter has separated with no other aircraft or some other components hitting it. So I can't even begin to imagine if this is true, how they would have lost the main rotor system. That one's a head scratcher for me. I don't know how that could have happened.
All right. Dan Rice, we appreciate everything you do for us here at CBS News New York. I know this is a tough day for the aviation community. It's a tough day for New Jersey and New York as well. Thank you for chatting with us here. We'll be back with you in a short little bit as we get more information about what actually caused this crash.
Yeah, Dan, thanks for joining us. If you learn of any new information, please let the newsroom know. Thanks.
Wow. There's more details are coming out by the minute, by the second. And I believe now we've got meteorologist Rob Marciano, who can give us more perspective on the
Talk about the
details.
weather conditions, Rob. I mean, I know that we're expecting some rain, but also wondering, did wind play a role? Could it have played a role? And also, obviously, the temperatures in the Hudson River.
Wind, not an issue, really. It was variable, 18, 21 miles per hour. Overcast conditions, visibility, 10 miles, so that's good. Air temperature, 46. So, visual flight rules, this is not a problem at all. So this is obviously a mechanical thing. With water temperature at 50 degrees, that's survivable, for enough time with enough people on both sides here to get any sort of survivor. So weather, not much of an issue. I'll say this about the tides. We have an incoming tide now. Obviously, the Hudson flows out. That does create some turbulence within the water. So that's some of the things that those scuba divers are having to deal with. Water temperature 50 degrees, at the very least in our dry wetsuit, likely in a dry suit. High tide is going to be at about 7:30, 8 o'clock tonight. This time of year, the water is relatively clear. If this were happening in the summertime, it would be a little bit more murky. But obviously now we're starting to see the weather begin to deteriorate as they continue this operation. So rain is going to start to increase. It's not going to get heavy, but it's just going to be enough to be a bit of a nuisance. And with temperatures that are falling into the lower to mid 40s, you're talking about things that it's just not very pleasant out there. The heavy stuff is well to our west, so it's going to be pretty much just very, very light, any sort of measurable rain here in the next 6 hours, where I would imagine that's the bulk of this salvage operation is going to occur. I should not might get some snow well north and west, but here along the Hudson and western parts of Manhattan and New Jersey City.
Years in prison for the possession and distribution of child pornography and sexual assault.
Ultimately locating a significant amount of child pornography, as well as in terms of video, as well as images, and then also a video of the 17-year-old girl who was unresponsive being abused by the actual suspect themselves.
Police in Victoria, BC say 40 investigators spent months building a case against Clayton Thomas Fletcher, who was charged back in October of last year. Fletcher is also banned from owning firearms for 10 years and will be placed on a sex offender registry for 20 years.
And coming up, the family feud behind the telecom giant Rogers is taking center stage. We'll have that and more business headlines right after this.
You're watching Global News. Global News is proud to be part of the GTA.
We know the issues that impact you the most.
We understand your needs and what needs to change.
Because like you, we know the GTA.
Our trusted team delivers more in-depth analysis, demands more accountability,
and covers more of the issues that matter to you.
Stay up to date with Global News at 5.
And more local news at 6.
Keeping the GTA informed and connected.
Your day starts right here.
The #1 place to be in the morning.
We've got the news you need. Take that Team Canada approach.
The experts you trust.
More exclusives than anywhere else.
And your first stop for the biggest entertainment stories.
The Morning Show, weekdays on Global.
That clear point that she was wrongfully detained. And he, of course, credits the president for making this possible and the commitment to secure the release of any American. So the swap, of course, means there was someone else, and that swap occurred in the UAE. And a German Russian figure who had been convicted arrested at the request of the United States in Cyprus, and then convicted for passing sensitive electronic information and gear, and was accused of money laundering and a number of other things. And so that is how they were able to make the swap. You see some of the key details there. And so these swaps have a benefit for both countries. Obviously, you could easily argue that this is a much more serious individual who was released back to Russia in exchange for a woman who was visiting her mother. and had made a charitable donation. So not an even balance. We've seen that many times before.
Yeah.
But it's certainly a victory for her family and to reunite her back in her now adopted homeland of the United States, where she's been for a number of years, 34 years old. So imagine if she had had to do the dozen years in a hard time in a Russian prison, how different the course of her life would be. So she is en route back to the United States, not returned yet. Typically, as you know, when people are returned from wrongful detention or imprisonment abroad, there is a medical process that happens, a debriefing process. And so we don't yet know her schedule, but this is certainly a positive development for Ksenia Karolina and her family.
Kelly O'Donnell, live for us here on the North Lawn. Lots to juggle on your beat, I know, today and always. Kel, thank you very much for bringing us that reporting. Also tonight, a really intense manhunt on both sides of the southern border after this joint operation to capture an escaped murderer went totally wrong, ending in a shootout that U.S. Marshals say killed a Mexican police commander. I want to show you some of the aftermath here. U.S. and Mexican police on the border city of Tijuana after trying to recapture this man, Cesar Hernandez, who police are still looking for. He escaped from a California courthouse back in December while serving an 80-year prison sentence for first-degree murder. Video captured that exact moment. There it is. You see Hernandez in the orange jumpsuit sprinting away from an officer. Officer raises up, chasing after him. He disappears, right? Escaped convict disappears. You now have this wild scene. NBC's Dana Griffin is following this for us out in LA. Where does this stand? What happened here in this operation? Why did it go so wrong so quickly?
That's a big question, Hallie. This is the international cat and mouse game that just doesn't seem to end. U.S. Marshals tell us that they were there assisting Mexican authorities with this sort of search for Hernandez. Not sure what went wrong, but gunshots erupted. This is in the town of Barcelona, Tijuana, the residential area of Barcelona in Tijuana. And this is, as you see, the video of him just months earlier escaping from law enforcement when he was supposed to be entering a court hearing. So the shootout erupted. Mexican police commander Abigail Esparza Reyes was killed. The U.S. Marshals issuing a statement saying that they were in the area but not involved in the shooting incident. They did render aid to Commander Esparza Reyes before she succumbed to her injuries. Now, this is what we know about Hernandez. So before he escaped, he was serving an 80-year prison sentence for a 2019 first-degree murder conviction in Los Angeles. He was set to appear that day in December when he made that brazen dash from the courthouse, and he was supposed to appear on other charges related to his time in prison. So the Kern County Sheriff said back in December that he likely used some sort of self-made key and was able to punch a guard before running away. Hallie?
Dana Griffin, just really dramatic there. Any sense of a timeline? I mean, they don't know, right? They don't know where he is. They have no timeline on when they might recapture him, right?
No timeline. We assume that they are still looking for him. We have not heard any additional details on his capture, but the hope is that they get what we see a very dangerous criminal off the streets. Hallie?
Dana Griffin, thanks. Coming up here soon, we expect to hear any minute from New York City's mayor on that deadly Hudson River helicopter crash and the recovery operation that you are looking at live right here, at least from where the boat previously taken off, one of them. We're going to bring you that news conference live when it begins. Plus, the investigation into how 2 planes ended up clipping wings at a D.C. airport today. And this stunning video of a Tesla heist in Miami, how the thieves pulled it off. Next.
The most sacred thing in life isn't the path. It's the freedom to choose it. Freedom is the roar of one man's engine and the silence of another's. So choose, but choose wisely. Choose what makes you happy. My friends, my family, my work make me happy. This Jeep makes me happy, even though my name is Paul.
So why can't we say we're the best home shopping site? Because while true, you just can't say that legally. So I can't say, homes.com is the best. No. What if we jumbled up the words? Homes best is com.the. No. What if we said it in Spanish? Homes.com es el mejor. No. What if we whispered it? Homes.com is the best. No. Fine. What if he said it?
Homes.com. It's the the best.
Mr. Freeman, I'm sorry, but we can't say that.
Say what?
Homes.com is the best.
Aha!
Homes.com.
It's the best.
For people who feel limited by the unpredictability of generalized myasthenia gravis, season to season, Ultomiris is continuous symptom control with improvement in activities of daily living and reduced muscle weakness. And Ultomiris is the only long-acting GMG treatment with the freedom of just 6 to 7 infusions per year. For a predictable routine, I can count on it.
Ultomiris may lower your immune system's ability to fight infections, increasing your chance of serious meningococcal and other infections, which may become life-threatening or fatal. Complete or update meningococcal vaccines at least 2 weeks before you start. If treatment is urgent and you're not vaccinated, you should receive antibiotics with your vaccines. Don't start if you have a meningococcal infection. Infusion reactions may include back, belly, liver, chest pain, muscle spasms, blood pressure changes, tiredness, shaky chills, bad taste, breathing problems, or face, tongue, or throat swelling. Ultomiris is continuous symptom control. Ask your neurologist about starting Ultomiris.
New video tonight of the dramatic moments after police shot the wife of a member of Weezer, you know, the band, in a really fence. Want to show you here Jill on the ground. There she is, surrendering to police. The LAPD says she got in the middle of a hit-and-run chase that she was not involved in. Police had gone into her neighborhood while they were looking for the suspects of the hit-and-run and saw Schreiner in her backyard, they say, pointing a gun at them. They say they told her to drop her weapon repeatedly. She did not. Police then shot her. We've reached out to Schreiner's reps. No word back yet, but this whole thing is going down just a few days before Weezer is set to play at Coachella this weekend. Liz Kreutz is following this story for us from LA. And to be clear, the hit and run, like, that wasn't even something that she was involved in the first place. It was only when she came out with a gun that police were like, what's going on here? Totally. A very Hollywood LA story. Very bizarre, Hallie. Essentially, it all began from this Hollywood movie-like chase that happens here in LA, a hit and run, unrelated. 3 suspects got out of the car, started running. They ran into her neighborhood, according to police. You can see some of them on some of the videos from shoppers. One of them ran into a yard. That is when police say Scott Schreiner's wife, Julian Schreiner, who's a best-selling author, that she emerged from her home wielding a gun and was pointing it there, and they tried to tell her to put it down. She wouldn't. So that is when police say one of the officers shot her in the shoulder. Thankfully she's okay. She was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. After she was shot, police say she went inside the home. She then later emerged with a child and another woman. That is when she surrendered. No real explanation at this point about why she didn't, listen to police and put the gun down. As they say, that's how it unfolded. They haven't responded. She hasn't. But you made the point she's out now. What happens next in this whole thing, and what does it mean, like, again, for Weezer, like this, people know it, Buddy Holly, Beverly Hills, they're doing Coachella, which is like a massive, massive show in just a couple of days here. Yeah. So TMZ has some video where they were kind of following Scott Schreiner, it seems like in his neighborhood, asking for comment. He said he wouldn't comment. He did say his wife is doing okay. And as far as we understand it, they're still set to play at Coachella. She was arrested. She's been charged with attempted murder, but she was released on $1 million bond. So Liz Kreutz, live for us there. Definitely one to watch. Liz, thanks for being on top of that. Appreciate it. Let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, emergency officials say the rescue push in the Dominican Republic is over after a roof caved in at a club, killing more than 200 people, meaning it is now a recovery operation. They believe they will find no more survivors. We're also getting some new video tonight from inside the club, moments after the collapse happened. So all of that white dust you see there is basically debris from the roof. You can hear the commotion, people with flashlights trying to find their way out, others trying to guide the people around them. Nearly 200 people were rescued. Number 2, the FAA says it's now investigating after 2 American Airlines planes clipped wings at Reagan here in Washington. Fortunately, nobody was hurt. Interestingly, this being DC, you had like half a dozen members of Congress on those flights, just happened to be passengers here. Remember, Reagan has obviously been in the spotlight previously. That is the location where, back in January, or near where 67 people were killed when that American Eagle jet collided with the Black Hawk helicopter. Number 3, New College of Florida is now rescheduling controversial Russell Brand speaking event we told you about. Remember, last week, Brand was charged with rape and sex assault in the UK. He has denied the allegations. A school official says they'll welcome him back to speak under conditions that, in their words, allow for thoughtful and topical engagement. Number 4, a judge in LA is reportedly letting Sony take over the distribution of 2 iconic game shows, Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy! It's a blow to CBS. Sony accused the company of not maximizing ad revenue. CBS says it's going to appeal and that today's ruling is only based on partial evidence. So we will see what happens with both Wheel and Jeopardy! Number 5, SNL is going across the pond pretty soon for an all-British version of the show. It's going to feature what they're calling a star-studded lineup of hosts and is set to premiere next year. Coming up here on this show, a family fighting for answers tonight after a man was found dead on a beach in the Bahamas. Why they're not buying what officials are telling them. Plus, the wild ride for a New Mexico couple kidnapped after helping the guy who turned out to become their abductor. We've got the dash cam video next.
The most sacred thing in life isn't the path. It's the freedom to choose it. Freedom is the roar of one man's engine and the silence of another's. So choose, but choose wisely. Choose what makes you happy. My friends, my family, my work make me happy. This Jeep makes me happy, even though my name isn't.
For people who feel limited by the unpredictability of generalized myasthenia gravis, season to season, Ultomiris is continuous symptom control with improvement in activities of daily living and reduced muscle weakness. And Ultomiris is the only long-acting GMG treatment with the freedom of just 6 to 7 infusions per year. For a predictable routine, I can count on.
Ultomiris may lower your immune system's ability to fight infections, increasing your chance of serious meningococcal and other infections, which may become life-threatening or fatal. Complete or update meningococcal vaccines at least 2 weeks before you start. If treatment is urgent and you're not vaccinated, you should receive antibiotics with your vaccines. Don't start if you have a meningococcal infection. Infusion reactions may include back, belly, liver, chest pain, muscle spasms, blood pressure changes, tiredness, shaky chills, bad taste, breathing problems, or face, tongue, or throat swelling. Ultomiris is continuous symptom control. Ask your neurologist about starting Ultomiris.
Sleep better, train smarter, recover faster, and feel healthier. Understand and optimize your sleep. Get coaching and insights for every age, stage, and cycle. Track over 140 habits. Get a 360 view of your training and workouts. Never miss a second of data with a wireless and waterproof charger. Expect all new features all the time.
How the CEO facing murder charges in the death of a 5-year-old boy got out of police custody for now. We'll have that coming up. But first, tonight, a family is demanding answers. After their relative died at the Atlanta Bahamas, police say they discovered 23-year-old Marilyn at the resort over the weekend. He was there on vacation. He drowned and then foul play. In it. His mother saw photos. He looked like he'd been saying tonight she's calling for justice for her son. I want to bring in Kathy Park, who's been following the latest for us here. What are some of the new details here that are raising some of those questions in the eyes of the family?
Yeah, so Hallie, Bahamas Eyewitness News actually spoke with Denari's mother and says she saw that photo of her son's body, and according to her, it appeared his face was beaten, his hair was full of sand, there was froth coming out of his mouth. So she is not convinced that this was a drowning and is demanding justice tonight and wants answers. Meanwhile, our NBC affiliate in Washington also spoke with Denari's aunt, who was told by authorities that there was some sort of issue at a restaurant before his body was found, and they said he spat on someone. So officials are saying that he spat on someone and then ran through a door. So a lot of unanswered questions tonight, and the aunt says that they're just kind of in limbo. They're in the dark and need witnesses to come forward. Take a listen.
We don't have answers. We don't really know, but it's very frustrating. Seems as though everything is being pushed under the rug.
And family members are also questioning why they have not seen any surveillance footage of the incident. And we should note, Hallie, that NBC News has reached out to the Royal Bahamas Police for any comment on this case, but we are still kind of waiting to hear back from them. Meanwhile, the resort did issue a statement. They've extended their condolences to the family and said that they are fully cooperating with the ongoing investigation. Kathy Park, thank you very much for that reporting. Appreciate it. NBC News covers hundreds of stories every day, and because it can be tough to read or watch or listen to them all, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment we call The Local. Out of our Midwest Bureau, the head of a Detroit alternative medical facility where a 5-year-old boy was killed in a pressurized oxygen chamber explosion is now out of jail after she posted a $2 million bond. The CEO, Tamala Peterson, and 3 of her employees are facing second-degree murder and involuntary manslaughter charges. All 4 defendants will be in court later this month. Out of our Western Bureau, take a look at this U-Haul ride in New Mexico. A couple kidnapped in the back of a moving truck. After they didn't know it, they helped the abductor unload his stuff. Somebody heard super loud banging from the back of the truck and called 911. Listen. Police ended up chasing the U-Haul, even had to blow out the truck's tires before the driver surrendered. And out of our Southeast Bureau, some pretty stunning surveillance video in Miami. A team of people ran into a parking lot gate with a stolen Tesla. Look at this. One of them steals the red Tesla. The driver hops out of the first Tesla, hops in another car. So police in Miami are looking for both the suspects and the Teslas. Coming up any minute now, we expect to hear from the New York City mayor on that deadly Hudson River helicopter crash. We're going to bring that to you live when it begins. Plus, one of fashion's biggest names buying its biggest rival. What those online quiet luxury trends have to do with it.
The most sacred thing in life isn't the path. It's the freedom to choose it. Freedom is the roar of one man's engine and the silence of another's. So choose, but choose wisely. Choose what makes you happy. My friends, my family, my work make me happy. This Jeep makes me happy, even though my name is Bond.
Reaching your financial goals can feel impossible. But we can help you seize them. Credit Karma gives you personalized guidance to improve your credit, savings, taxes, and more. So you can find your way to money. Intuit Credit Karma. Karma you can count on.
When my hair started to thin, I thought, am I going to have any hair left?
After I gave birth, my hair wasn't even thin, it was gone.
When I spoke to my dermatologist, he immediately pointed me in the direction of Nutrafol. It's 100% drug-free and clinically tested.
Within 3 months, my hair was fuller.
It's longer, it's so much thicker.
I had more scalp coverage. It was so nice to be noticed for my hair after hiding it for so many years.
Start your hair growth journey at Nutrafol.com.
Tonight, Prada buying out their rival brand Versace in a $1.4 billion deal. And if you're wondering why should you care, well, the timing of this is interesting. Research shows people are pulling back on luxury shopping, even with those quiet luxury trends, and tariffs could make that all the more complicated. Let me bring in Maya Eaglin now on this. So what's going on together to create a big powerhouse, and customers seem to be leaning?
Yeah, Hallie, it's rumored to be happening this past fall. And we actually know that Versace was started in 1978 by Italian designer Gianni Versace. It's a brand known for its bold, bright colors, those haute couture fashion shows. of those iconic looks like J-Lo's green jungle dress from the 2000 Grammys. And in 1997, Gianni was murdered, replaced by his sister Donatella to take over the brand of Prada. But recently, Versace's parent company Capri has seen a decline in revenue. It reported losing over $100 million in and fashion experts say it's due to the global economy. But Hallie, I'm going to pass it back to you.
Maya Eglin, thank you very much for that reporting. Appreciate it. Let's get you over now back to New York City, where we've got that breaking news. The New York City Mayor Eric Adams is briefing reporters now on the Hudson River crash. These are some of the officials you see here. We're going to listen in to what police have to say. You see one of those, the deputy mayor here. Let's listen in.
I'm joining here today with Mayor Eric Adams, Deputy Mayor for Administration Camille Joseph Barlock, the Fire Commissioner Robert Tucker, the Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch, Emergency Management Commissioner Sco. We are here on the scene at Pier 40 on the west side of Manhattan, where earlier today a passenger helicopter crashed into the Hudson River. Our response was swift and coordinated. We have the FDNY, the NYPD, the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner here on the scene assisting. New York City Office of Emergency Management was coordinating efforts on the ground with our public safety agencies. As our state and federal partners, including the FAA, the Port Authority, and the United States Coast Guard, the National Transportation Safety Board, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and our partner agencies in New Jersey. When an emergency like this happens and strikes, this team responds with expert speed and professionalism. I want to brave first responders for assisting in the rescue efforts and the ongoing investigation into this tragedy. For more information, I would like to turn it over to Mayor Eric Adams.
Thanks so much, Daughtry. Our hearts go out to the family of those who were on board and all 6 who were. Thanks so much, Daughtry. Our hearts go out to the family of those who were on board and all 6 who were on board of the helicopter. It's almost reminiscence of the plane going down here on the Hudson River. But thank God we didn't lose any lives back then. We still fresh and it's still new. The investigation is ongoing, and we have the entire family members. We're lifting them up in prayer. Here's what we know at this time. At approximately 3:17 this afternoon, we began receiving multiple calls for a helicopter that crashed in the water. These calls generated the response of many agencies, as Deputy Mayor Daughtry stated, including FDNY, NYPD, the Port Authority, and our Jersey partners, the police officers in Jersey as well, and the Coast Guard. 3 adults and 3 children were on board a Bell 206 helicopter that had left from the downtown Skyport just about 3 p.m. The pilot and a family visiting from Spain, what our preliminary information has at this time. Members of the FDNY and NYPD harbor units arrived at the scene, and divers from both agencies entered the water. At this time, all 6 victims have been removed from the water, and sadly, all 6 victims have been pronounced deceased. Again, we're praying for the families and our gratitude to the rescuers and the courage that was displayed in their dedication. I will now turn it over to Fire Commissioner Tucker.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. As the mayor said, at approximately 3:15 this afternoon, numerous calls were received for a helicopter crash in the Hudson River. We have FDNY assets
right up the road here, and we launched our boats immediately. This operation was a joint operation between the FDNY and the NYPD. Our rescue swimmers were in the water shortly after the call and recovered some of the victims. We worked very closely with the NYPD divers on this, and I think this tragic day does indicate just how the spirit of cooperation between the NYPD and the FDNY is alive on the streets and in the water. So thank you very much.
Good afternoon. The mayor covered most of it, but perhaps I have a few details to add here. Obviously, this is an ongoing investigation, and all information that we'll provide is preliminary and subject to change. At approximately 3:17 this afternoon, multiple 911 calls started coming in, reporting a helicopter crash in the Hudson River near the New Jersey coastline off the coast of River Drive in Hoboken. NYPD units from aviation, harbor, scuba, and patrol all responded, with our first units arriving at the site within minutes. Our NYPD divers entered the water. Along with rescue personnel from FDNY, Port Authority, and various New Jersey agencies. According to the manifest, aboard the helicopter were 6 people, 1 pilot, 2 adults, and 3 children. NYPD divers pulled 4 people from the crash site, and FDNY divers recovered an additional 2. Immediate life-saving measures were undertaken on the vessels at the scene, as well as the adjoining pier. 4 victims were pronounced dead on scene, and 2 more were removed to local area hospitals, where sadly both succumbed to their injuries. Names are being withheld at this time, pending family notification. Here is what we know about the flight, and this is based on flight tracking software. A Bell 206 helicopter flying for the tour company New York Helicopters took off from the downtown Manhattan heliport at 2:59 p.m. The aircraft flew south before turning to fly north along the Manhattan shoreline up the Hudson River. At 3:08 p.m., the helicopter reached the George Washington Bridge and then turned again to fly south along the New Jersey shoreline. Shortly thereafter, the aircraft lost control and hit the water just a few feet off the coast of Pier A Park in Hoboken. The cause of the crash is currently under investigation. Questions? Go ahead.
We don't have that information at this time, and we're holding to a complete investigation.
Go ahead.
You know about the recovery of the helicopter submerged in the water. How did divers find it? How did divers find the helicopter? Is it submerged, and what happened to the recovery?
The helicopter hit the water, we believe, inverted, and it was, the cabin piece was visible above the water. Mark, go ahead.
No, still preliminary investigation.
Jen?
Background on the pilot, any past incidents with any more, perhaps any crash.
This still, as you see, this is fresh. All this is preliminary, and we're going to look into that.
Time for 2 more. Go ahead. Do you have any idea of how old the helicopter was, the age of it? And also, we had witnesses telling us that the helicopter started to stop in midair, and there were pieces of the helicopter falling off before it actually hit the water. Have you heard of that? Do you know why?
Yeah, I think the entire incident is under investigation by the NTSB and the FBI, and obviously local authorities as well.
Is that something that you've seen, you have heard witness accounts of?
It's consistent with 911 calls and witness reports.
Last question. I just wanted to ask the benefits of what we do children, especially.
Still an investigation. We want to be cautious about releasing any information until we're able to notify family members and the communication with the council.
And before we close, just lastly, when myself and Commissioner Tucker arrived on the Jersey side of the Hudson River, we were met by the first responders, and they told us they did everything they can to try to save these victims. And you can see the trauma on their face. They did everything they can, and they wanted me to make sure that I made that public. They really tried their hardest. So thank you.
Thank you all so much.
You have been listening to that press conference from New York City's mayor after that helicopter crashed into the Hudson River just off Lower Manhattan, between Manhattan and New Jersey. All 6 people on board, including children, now confirmed killed in that crash. I want to show you a live shot here of what appears to be that now recovery operation in the Hudson. This has been obviously something that has captured the attention of so many people in New York City and beyond, given that this appeared to be, as officials say, a Bell helicopter with the family on board visiting from Spain. I want to go to Yasmin Vasukian, who is with us now live on scene. I believe she is with us. Tom Winter has also been covering this as well. And Tom, some critical details coming into us from officials there.
That's right, Hallie. Let's start with the timeline. At 2:59 Eastern Time today, this helicopter takes off from the Wall Street heliport. That's a very busy heliport here in New York City. I have personally taken off from there and landed on 4 or 5 separate occasions, just to give people a sense of how large that helicopter pad is, if you're not familiar with it. That's where the president arrives from JFK Airport when the president visits New York City, and those big Ospreys and the large Marine One helicopters, they land at that heliport. From there, it travels along the southern part of Manhattan. There's a circle around the Statue of Liberty. That wasn't something that the police referenced there, but we've seen the radar returns ourselves, and that's what happened. It flies up the western side of Manhattan, turns around near the George Washington Bridge, and then turns back down south and heads along the Jersey shoreline, where it has a catastrophic breakup, the results of which we're looking at very clearly here on screen. As you see the splashes in the water of the rotor of that aircraft, or perhaps the rotor on top of the aircraft. The entire tail boom and tail rotor were missing at the time that aircraft, the helicopter, landed in the water. The details of what divers found on scene: they found 4 people deceased. 2 people were sent to hospitals where unfortunately they have died as a result of their injuries. 3 children, 2 adults, and a pilot, according to the NYPD and FDNY and the manifest. So again, divers recovered 6 individuals from the water. The Marine units of the NYPD and FDNY, those individuals were either taken to the hospital or pronounced there at the scene. You're looking at this image here. Those yellow things that you see there, Hallie, we referenced that earlier in the show. Those typically are inflated when if a helicopter has an engine failure. There is enough power typically left for the rotors to kind of spin freely and provide you a cushion to land in the river. It's called auto rotation, and the helicopter pilot can pull something and inflate those and land safely. That didn't happen.
Tom Winter, thank you very much for that reporting. We're going to have much more coverage of what happened here and of this helicopter crash into the Hudson. We're going to sneak in a very quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
I'd like to come to you on the executive and her response right there on Arise Prime Time. And she did admit that she told the senator to please shut up. And of course, we also heard her call him a scoundrel. And I just wanted to your thoughts on her behavior, her mannerism, and what's next. What would you like to see next happen? Thank you so much. That was a show of shame, especially the show of shame being televised. I have a lot of respect for Dr. Obi's Ekwesili, and whether or not she ever gets into the Senate, she has made her mark in history, whether as Vice President of the World Bank, nominee for the Nobel Peace Prize, founding director Transparency International, Fixed Politics, and so many others. She's served in government at different points, and to a very large extent, scandal. So she's earned her stars as a public servant in Nigeria and also in the private sector. However, I do think that no one should ask anybody, especially in such a professional setting, to shut up. Yes, people can get provoked, but there are 2 adults on the table, irrespective of how old what their resume was. They were before a panel to present or represent a matter, and unfortunately that then degenerated. I think in terms of who should apologize, both of them owe each other and Nigerians an apology. Number one is that Dr. Obi's Ekwesili is a role model. to a lot of young women, men, youths across Nigeria. And I don't think it's becoming to see this kind of behavior and to justify it. In the same vein, Senator Nwagwe is also, he said he's a senator, so he all the respect, and he once served as chairman of the program of all that. So he himself is very important. But I do believe that in the interest of the fact that he is the one who was a senator within the chamber, within that the parliamentary system, ought to be disciplined. And it's just to demonstrate a no tolerance for such behavior. If someone can be disciplined for speaking up against an application of seats, how much more someone who sat before and didn't even respect the fact that he had a chairman of the committee and his very strong language to speak against someone who was invited for a committee meeting. I say this because there's action and reaction. When an action is done, and I think what Dr. Matthew mentioned it, like even if something was said to you that you didn't like, you didn't have to, Michelle Obama said, when they go high, when they go low, we go high. You could have easily just asked what this was and then just quenched that matter. But he went off and he just went off. You know, when they report a case of domestic violence and so what did the man do? That question is very upsetting. But even beyond that, if you go to any law enforcement agency, it's the one that hits that gets apprehended. So it's your reaction to such a statement that could have easily put you out of the system. And I just want to say that I believe that public servants should have two trainings, important and compulsory: anger management training and communication skills training. Right. We've seen this play out a number of times, and I believe that it's a disservice to the position and the office that they represent when they come out and they speak in such a manner. It is disgraceful, it is quite sad, and I hope they say it takes them.
Well said. Thank you all for your submission. I think that you all summed up the conversation really nicely. I mean, we're hoping for an apology, like you said, to Nigerians from both parties, Senator Nwagwe and, of course, Madam Due Process. Obviously, we call her Madam Due Process, and she does.
Choose convenient tuning. Every Mazda is engineered to give you effortless control.
Well, in the meantime, Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan has petitioned the Legal Practitioners Disciplinary Committee to disbar Senator Neda Imaswe, Chairman of the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions, the senator who recommended a suspension. Following the petition, Natasha alleged that Imaswe was disbarred in the United States by the New York Supreme Court in 2010 over fraud and misappropriation of client funds. Natasha also claimed that Imaswe relocated to Nigeria to continue practicing law, but failed to disclose his disbarment in his INEC election forms. Natasha backed her petition with court documents. This comes after she filed a contempt application against Imaswe, arguing that her suspension violated a court order restraining the committee from taking disciplinary action against her. Well, meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission has dismissed a recall petition seeking to remove Senator representing Kogi Central, Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. INEC cited the petitioner's failure to provide valid contact information as a reason for the rejection. Dr. Bata, I'm coming over to you on the story because we discussed it a bit yesterday, and I wanted you to just highlight the process of this sort of recall petition. And of course, the story I told earlier about Natasha taking Senator Imaswe to court.
Let me deal with that first, Senator. Neda Imaswe first. It raises a moral question. And the moral question is that, look, if a person has been debarred somewhere, and then he goes into politics in Nigeria, it means that there is a stain on his character. That's the moral statement that you can make. It is not unlike men with that morality, it's the same thing with law. Now, the principle here is that if a man has already been punished for a particular offense, if you are asking for that person to be punished a second time, the principle is called double jeopardy. So, if there is a case of double jeopardy, I'm not really able to assure whether the PC would go that far to say the person should be punished twice. There's also what they call the 10-year rule. I think it
was in 2010 that development at the New York Bar, New York Bar, took place. Now, the 10-year rule says that if you've been, sanctioned for a particular offense, after 10 years, you are deemed to have been born. I mean,
so what do you have to reapply? Would you have to reapply before?
Well, I don't know. He didn't show up. I think the narrative that I will say, he didn't even show up at the appeal. The third question to ask is that, was he called to the bar here in Nigeria? Or where did he get his, is he a member of the Nigerian Bar Association? If he's not a member, can the NDA disciplinary committee where it will happen? Number 4 is the issue of vendetta. Very obviously, Senator Natasha Abuti is seeking vengeance, and he's thinking that he can use the legal disciplinary and complaints committee to have a that could have, however, the petition has been submitted. I will not go as far as saying, oh, these are recommendations, these are recommendations. I don't think because that will even be prejudicial. Prejudicial that, disciplinary committee. Okay, they know what the law is, they will look at the recommendations. The second thing is about the recall. Yesterday I was going to say that this is a matter of law, it's not of emotions. Now, the INEC themselves, the body has come forward to say, look, this is in violation of the enabling rules laws, section 111, and also 69 of the 1999 Constitution, 130 and 116 of the Electoral Act, Extant Act, and also section 2C of the Electoral Act, and section 1F of 2C and 1F of the INEC guidelines and regulations. Now, the procedure for filing a petition for recall is one stated under section 69. 50% of the registered voters, total number of registered voters in that constituency, in this case, Kogi Central. Now, if those 50% supply their petition, the petition must contain telephone numbers, contact addresses, and even email addresses. Why? Because the second stage after the submission is verification. Because INEC will now carry its verification to make sure that the petition and the names that have been submitted are not fake. And that is what INEC is holding on to say that only the name, the phone number, contact number of the lead petitioner must supply. That lead petitioner cannot represent over 50% of the registered voters in that constituency. She can only represent herself. So if the verifier, I have given her over 250,000 persons that they say signed the petition. So on the surface of it, that petition has developed clearly. Because it's after verification, INEC will now conduct a referendum. A yes or no referendum in that constituency. And it's only on that basis that, they can take a decision on the call. And all of that process must take place within 90 days. That's what the law says. So INEC now is trying to be transparent to say these persons that have been submitted to us, these names, they cannot be ghosts. They must be actually registered voters who can be identified. So, in other words, that's why the recall process is a very cumbersome process, and that's why you don't find people being recalled on a daily basis. And I think that INEC has done well by insisting on fairness and due process.
Well said, Dr. Abati. I'll come to you. I'd like for your submission on what appears to be a vendetta by Natasha Abuti, the filing of that.
Yes. So, as regards the
yes.
It was when this Natasha sexual harassment case and the suspension happened that was brought to public notice that they have to do. Proud to be that most people do not know. It was when this controversy started and the document came.
Because I haven't
implies on our policies. We must have checks. You see, somebody cannot call all people from America and this is
Hello.
ancestral policies.
Emotion.
And we have seen that some are even special